In this age of change, we see that the heart of man has grown unsettled, not from the weight of his burdens, but from the very freedom granted unto him. As the world spins onward, so does the nature of human life shift and bend, like a reed in the wind, unstable and fragile. The foundations upon which men once stood firm have been replaced with shifting sands, and so the very essence of life has lost its meaning. Once, men found purpose in their families, their cities, and their common cause. In the past, society was bound together by the enduring principles of duty, honor, and loyalty. The pursuit of one's individual interests was tempered by an understanding that one's actions affected the greater whole. But today, all that has been abandoned for the pursuit of one's own fleeting desires, for the shallow gain of wealth and status that are as quickly lost as they are obtained. In the modern world, society has become a disjointed, fractured entity where bonds once forged through common beliefs, duties, and shared purposes are now weakened or completely severed. What was once a solid and cohesive unit, bound by social, familial, and communal ties, has given way to a fragmented existence where each individual is left isolated in the pursuit of their own desires. The very essence of what it means to belong to a group, to a community, has been eroded by the forces of individualism, technological advancement, and the relentless quest for self-fulfillment. As these forces have grown stronger, the fabric of society has been torn apart, leaving behind a world where true connection has become increasingly rare. Historically, communities were built on strong foundations of shared values. People lived and worked together within established frameworks, whether that was in the context of family, religion, or state. These frameworks provided individuals with a clear understanding of their roles, responsibilities, and duties to one another. People derived a sense of identity, not only from their own actions, but from the recognition and validation of their community. The community, in return, offered a sense of stability and belonging, and within it, individuals found purpose and meaning in life. But this structure has crumbled in the modern era. The rise of capitalism, with its unyielding demand for personal success, has placed the emphasis on the individual rather than the group. Modern life is driven by competition, the idea that one must constantly strive to outdo others in order to succeed, whether that means accumulating wealth, achieving professional status, or gaining social recognition. This individualistic culture has led to a society where the collective good is often overlooked in favor of personal gain. The result is a weakening of the social bonds that once held communities together. The fragmentation of society is also evident in the way we organize ourselves in the modern world. Where once people lived in tight, knit communities, today we find ourselves in vast, sprawling cities, surrounded by strangers. Neighbors may never speak to each other, and entire blocks may exist without any sense of connection between those who inhabit them. This geographical separation only deepens the emotional and psychological isolation that individuals experience. The sense of belonging to a place, to a shared space, has been replaced by a sense of alienation. Technological advancements, while connecting us in new and unprecedented ways, have also contributed to this fragmentation. The internet and social media platforms offer the illusion of connection, but in reality, they foster a sense of superficial interaction. People can be friends with hundreds or thousands of others online, yet they may still feel deeply alone. The ease with which we can communicate virtually has led to the decline of face-to-face interactions, reducing the quality of relationships and leaving people feeling disconnected from one another. In this digital age, true human connection has been diluted, replaced by digital facades that lack depth and emotional resonance. Moreover, the decline of traditional institutions has played a significant role in the fragmentation of society. Religions, political systems, and family structures that once provided individuals with a clear sense of purpose and belonging have been weakened. Traditional institutions offered guidance, a sense of moral certainty, and a framework within which individuals could operate. Today, these structures have lost their influence as people have become more skeptical of established authority and more focused on personal freedom. The erosion of these institutions has left individuals without the stability and sense of community that they once provided, contributing to a sense of purposelessness and isolation. The consequences of this fragmentation are far-reaching. People, unmoored from the traditional bonds that once gave their lives structure and meaning, now find themselves adrift. Without the sense of connection to others, individuals often struggle to find meaning in their lives. The modern world offers an abundance of choices, but these choices can be overwhelming, leaving people unsure of what to prioritize or how to navigate the complexities of modern existence. The very things that were supposed to offer freedom, individualism, consumer choice, and technological progress, have become sources of anxiety and emptiness. This fragmentation also creates a sense of distrust. In a world where everyone is focused on their own pursuits, there is little room for mutual cooperation or understanding. People become suspicious of one another, seeing others as competitors rather than potential allies. This lack of trust further isolates individuals, as they no longer feel part of a collective effort or shared goal. Society becomes fragmented not only in terms of its physical structure, but in terms of its emotional and social coherence as well. The bonds of empathy, compassion, and mutual aid that once helped to hold communities together are weakened, leaving behind a world where people are more likely to view each other with suspicion and distance. At the heart of this fragmentation is the loss of a common purpose. When people no longer share common goals, values, or beliefs, they are left to pursue their own interests in isolation. The lack of a shared vision for the future only deepens the sense of emptiness. People no longer feel a sense of responsibility toward one another, and the social contract that once bound individuals to a collective sense of duty has dissolved. This lack of shared purpose leads to a world where individuals are disconnected not only from one another, but from the very idea of collective identity and social responsibility. Thus, the fragmentation of society is not merely a social or political issue, but a profound existential crisis. It is a crisis of identity, belonging, and purpose. In a fragmented world, individuals are left to navigate their lives alone, adrift in a sea of competing desires, with no anchor to hold them steady. The dissolution of shared values, the breakdown of social bonds, and the decline of traditional institutions have all contributed to a society where individuals struggle to find meaning, connection, and fulfillment. Without a sense of unity, individuals are left to confront the emptiness that comes with a life lived in isolation. In the modern world, individualism has become the defining characteristic of society. It permeates every aspect of life, from the way people live their daily routines to the very structure of society itself. The emphasis on individual autonomy and the belief in the primacy of personal desire have created a landscape where self-interest reigns supreme, often at the expense of collective well-being. This relentless pursuit of individual fulfillment, framed as a path to freedom and happiness, is both liberating and deeply isolating, for it places the individual at the center of the universe, while leaving behind the very bonds that once connected people to one another. Historically, the notion of the individual was subordinated to the community. A person's identity and worth were closely tied to their role within society, whether in family, religious institutions, or political life. People found meaning through their connections to others and the responsibilities they carried as part of a greater whole. But over time, particularly with the rise of capitalism and the spread of Enlightenment ideals, the focus shifted. The individual became the highest authority, and personal freedom became the ultimate goal. This shift has transformed how we view ourselves and how we relate to the world around us. In this age of individualism, the idea of personal success is defined not by the fulfillment of one's duties or contributions to the community, but by the accumulation of wealth, power, and status. The modern individual is encouraged to measure their value by what they can achieve on their own, often in competition with others. This competitive ethos has become so ingrained in society that even the most basic social interactions are viewed through the lens of individual gain. Whether in the workplace, in social settings, or within the family, the individual is constantly calculating how they can rise above others, how they can maximize their own success at any cost. The pursuit of individualism has also been facilitated by the rise of consumer culture. Capitalism has expanded this desire for self-fulfillment by offering an endless array of products and services designed to cater to personal tastes and preferences. The consumer is no longer just someone who buys what they need to live, but rather someone who defines themselves by the choices they make in the marketplace. Identity is increasingly shaped by what one owns, the brands one chooses, and the lifestyle one can afford to project. This constant consumption becomes a means of self-expression as individuals seek to define who they are through the products they purchase, the services they consume, and the experiences they acquire. In this sense, the marketplace becomes an arena for the manifestation of the self, a place where identity is curated and constantly refined. However, this emphasis on personal autonomy and self-expression carries significant costs. The pursuit of individualism often leads to isolation, as the bonds that once tied people together are severed in favor of personal ambition. The idea of the self-made person, the individual who rises above the struggles of others through sheer willpower, is celebrated, but it ignores the reality that no person is truly self-made. Each individual is shaped by the society they inhabit, the culture they belong to, and the relationships they foster with others. Yet, in a world that places such emphasis on personal achievement, the importance of interdependence, the understanding that we rise together or fall together is overlooked. The pursuit of individualism also generates a sense of perpetual dissatisfaction. No matter how much wealth or status one achieves, the thirst for more never truly subsides. Modern society constantly encourages individuals to want more possessions, more recognition, more success. Yet it offers no lasting sense of fulfillment. The individual is always in pursuit of the next achievement, the next purchase, the next milestone. And with each new accomplishment comes a fleeting sense of happiness, quickly replaced by the desire for something greater. This cycle of longing and disappointment leaves individuals perpetually unfulfilled, constantly chasing after goals that never provide the lasting satisfaction they promise. Furthermore, individualism undermines the sense of community that once offered people stability and support. In a society driven by self-interest, people become less likely to form genuine relationships based on shared values and mutual concern. Instead, interactions become transactional, with individuals seeking only to fulfill their own needs and desires. Friendships, romantic relationships, and even family connections are often viewed through the lens of utility, as people search for relationships that will benefit them in some way. The result is that genuine intimacy becomes increasingly rare, replaced by shallow, self-serving interactions that fail to provide the deep connections that give life meaning. The constant emphasis on personal success and the cultivation of one's own desires also leads to a lack of collective responsibility. In a world where everyone is focused on their own goals, the larger issues that affect society as a whole, such as poverty, inequality, and social injustice, are often ignored or dismissed. People become so preoccupied with their own success that they fail to recognize the struggles of others or the importance of working together to address shared challenges. The belief in individualism blinds people to the fact that their personal success is often built upon the labor and sacrifice of others. As a result, the pursuit of self-interest becomes not just a personal endeavor, but a social one, as individuals fail to see how their actions contribute to the larger systems of inequality that permeate society. In the political sphere, individualism manifests itself in the rise of populist movements and a rejection of collective governance. The belief that each person should have control over their own destiny, free from the constraints of government or societal obligations, has led to a distrust of institutions and a desire for greater personal freedom. While the desire for personal freedom is not inherently harmful, when it is taken to an extreme, it undermines the social contracts that hold societies together. A society that is solely concerned with the rights of the individual, without consideration for the common good, is one that is doomed to unravel. The triumph of individualism, while offering the promise of personal freedom and self-expression, has brought with it a host of unintended consequences. It has led to a society where people are isolated, disconnected from one another, and endlessly pursuing a fleeting sense of personal fulfillment that never truly arrives. In the end, the very pursuit of individualism has created a paradox. While it promises freedom and satisfaction, it delivers only emptiness and dissatisfaction. In a world obsessed with personal achievement, the true value of community, shared responsibility, and collective well-being has been lost. In the modern age, progress is worshipped as the highest ideal, an unyielding force that promises improvement and betterment in every facet of life. The idea that progress brings about a more advanced, refined, and prosperous world is ingrained in the very fabric of society. We are told that the latest technology, the newest innovations, and the continual advancement of knowledge will ultimately solve all of our problems and lead us to a more fulfilling, enlightened existence. This relentless march forward, celebrated as an unmitigated good, presents a world in which the pursuit of progress has become a fundamental driver of human activity. However, the promise of progress often proves to be illusory, leaving many people disillusioned and unfulfilled. At the heart of the modern obsession with progress is the belief that technological innovation will provide solutions to the challenges faced by society. In the past few centuries, technology has indeed led to remarkable advancements. Medicine has cured diseases, communication has become instantaneous, and the reach of human potential has expanded far beyond what previous generations could have imagined. Yet, despite these advancements, many of the fundamental problems that have plagued humanity, inequality, poverty, political corruption, and even the very meaning of life, remain unsolved or have only worsened. Progress, as it is defined in the modern world, has become a cycle of perpetual innovation that offers no lasting resolution to the deeper issues that affect human existence. One of the most striking aspects of this illusion of progress is the ever-expanding promise of the next thing. The modern world has conditioned people to believe that the next technological breakthrough, the next product, the next social trend, will be the key to true fulfillment. With each new invention or advancement, there is an implicit promise that it will bring greater ease, greater joy, or greater success. The cycle repeats endlessly as people are encouraged to adopt new technologies, new ideas, and new lifestyles in the hope that they will be the answer to their problems. Yet, for all the innovations that come and go, satisfaction remains elusive, and people are left with an ever-increasing sense of emptiness. This constant drive for the next big thing has led to a society where the future is always framed as something better than the present. Progress is measured in terms of constant improvement, and individuals are conditioned to believe that their lives will always be more fulfilling in the future, once they have achieved the next milestone or acquired the next possession. Yet, as time progresses, people find that the future they were promised is always just beyond reach. The anticipated rewards of progress never live up to expectations, and individuals are left feeling as though they are on a never-ending treadmill, forever chasing after something that is always just out of their grasp. This sense of unfulfilled promise has deeper implications for the individual psyche. The illusion of progress fosters a constant sense of dissatisfaction. People are told that they can always be better, that they can always improve, that they can always upgrade their lives. The idea that life can be continually optimized creates an insatiable hunger for more success, more wealth, more experiences. The irony is that, in striving for continuous improvement, individuals often overlook the more meaningful aspects of life, such as personal relationships, emotional growth, and spiritual fulfillment. These intangible elements, which once provided people with a sense of stability and contentment, are overshadowed by the relentless push for progress. Moreover, the illusion of progress is not confined to the realm of technology alone. It has seeped into social, political, and economic structures. There is a prevailing belief that society is always moving toward greater equality, justice, and democracy. In theory, progress suggests that the world is improving in every way, that each generation will enjoy greater freedoms, rights, and opportunities than the last. Yet, Despite centuries of progress in these areas, inequality, corruption, and division persist in many parts of the world. The promises of political leaders and social reformers that society is on the cusp of a breakthrough often ring hollow when faced with the same systemic problems that continue to plague people. The illusion of progress has created a false sense of optimism, encouraging individuals to believe that change is always just around the corner, even as little concrete change materializes. Furthermore, the very definition of progress has become skewed, and in many cases, it has been opted by those in power to serve their own interests. In a capitalist society, progress is often synonymous with economic growth, more consumption, more production, and more profit. But this kind of progress, rooted in materialism, overlooks the social and environmental costs that accompany it. The drive for economic progress has led to a culture of overconsumption where people are constantly encouraged to buy more, consume more, and accumulate more. This growth at all costs mentality has resulted in ecological destruction, social inequality, and the erosion of meaningful human connections. What is often framed as progress is in fact a pursuit of unsustainable expansion that leaves behind a trail of damage and disillusionment. The illusion of progress is also tied to the increasing pace of modern life. In a world where time is constantly compressed and instant gratification is expected, the sense of moving forward becomes more frenetic. People are always on the go, moving faster, achieving more, yet paradoxically feeling more disconnected and more exhausted. The pressure to keep up with the ever-accelerating pace of life creates a sense of anxiety and restlessness. Instead of achieving a higher quality of life, modern progress often leads to a more fragmented existence, where people are consumed by the demands of work, technology, and social expectations. The constant pursuit of progress also undermines the ability of individuals and societies to reflect on their deeper needs and desires. In a world obsessed with forward momentum, there is little room for introspection or contemplation. People are encouraged to keep moving, to keep achieving, and to keep striving, but they are rarely prompted to ask themselves whether the progress they are chasing is truly what they want or need. In this way, progress becomes not a means of fulfilling human potential, but an endless, automated process that leaves individuals feeling disconnected from their true selves and from the values that might give their lives deeper meaning. Thus, progress has come to be understood as a linear, unending force that is always advancing, always improving, yet always unattainable in its fullest sense. The pursuit of this ideal has led to a profound disillusionment, where people chase after promises of a better tomorrow while failing to recognize that the future they are promised is no closer than the present. The illusion of progress has become an all-consuming force, and while it offers the hope of a brighter future, it fails to deliver the true fulfillment that it promises. Instead of bringing people closer to contentment, it leaves them perpetually unsatisfied, always in search of the next thing that will never truly provide the answers they seek. In the modern world, relationships, once the cornerstone of human existence, have become increasingly transactional and shallow. Social bonds, whether between family members, friends, or even strangers, have suffered from a decline in depth and authenticity. This erosion of meaningful connections is one of the most significant consequences of the societal shift toward individualism and the rise of a hyper-competitive, technology-driven world. The idea of a community rooted in mutual understanding, shared values, and empathy has gradually given way to relationships driven by personal agendas, convenience, and utility. The result is a society where true, lasting connections have become increasingly rare, leaving individuals with a profound sense of loneliness and disconnection. Historically, human relationships were founded on the understanding that people were interconnected, and that individuals played vital roles within a larger community. Relationships were not merely tools for individual benefit, but sources of mutual support, care, and collective strength. The family, the neighborhood, and the local community were the primary social units, where individuals found their sense of belonging and their emotional security. People looked to one another not only for material support, but for emotional sustenance finding comfort and meaning in the connections they formed with those around them. However, in the modern era, these traditional relationships have become more superficial and transactional. The focus has shifted from the well-being of the group to the well-being of the individual, and as a result, relationships have been increasingly shaped by self-interest. This is particularly evident in the way people form friendships and partnerships today. Many relationships are built on a cost-benefit analysis, where the value of a connection is determined by what one can gain from it. Friendships are often viewed through the lens of social status or networking, with individuals seeking relationships that will provide them with opportunities for personal or professional advancement. Similarly, romantic relationships have become influenced by ideals of self-fulfillment, where the focus is on finding someone who complements one's own desires and ambitions, rather than on the shared growth and emotional bond that once characterized marriage or long-term partnerships. The rise of digital communication, while offering unprecedented connectivity, has further contributed to the decline of meaningful connections. Social media platforms, in particular, have created an environment where relationships are often reduced to likes, comments, and superficial exchanges. Online interactions, which may appear to foster communication and connection, often lack the depth and nuance of face-to-face conversations. In an age where people are constantly connected through their phones and computers, the quality of interaction has diminished. People are more likely to engage with each other through short, fleeting exchanges rather than through meaningful, sustained dialogue. The virtual world, despite its ability to bring people together across vast distances, often leaves individuals feeling more isolated and disconnected than ever before. The digital age has also led to the rise of the friend who exists only in name. It is not uncommon for people to have hundreds or even thousands of online friends or followers, yet feel a profound sense of loneliness. These online relationships often lack the depth and emotional resonance of real-world interactions, leading individuals to mistake quantity for quality. In this context, the notion of friendship has become commodified, with relationships existing as a form of social currency. The pressure to maintain a certain image online has led to a situation where people present only curated versions of themselves, avoiding vulnerability and emotional authenticity. As a result, relationships formed through social media are often shallow and superficial, lacking the genuine emotional connection that characterizes deeper human interactions. Moreover, the breakdown of meaningful connections extends beyond individual relationships to include a broader disintegration of community. As people become increasingly focused on their own lives and ambitions, the bonds that once held communities together, shared values, mutual support, and collective responsibility, begin to erode. People no longer view themselves as part of a larger social fabric, but as isolated individuals with little connection to those around them. Neighborhoods that were once close-knit, where people knew and helped one another, have been replaced by spaces of anonymity, where people pass each other without ever speaking. The sense of belonging that once defined communities is now replaced by a pervasive feeling of alienation and detachment. The decline of meaningful connections has also had a profound impact on mental health. As relationships become more shallow and transactional, people increasingly find themselves struggling with loneliness and isolation. While technology promises to keep people connected, it often exacerbates feelings of disconnection. Studies have shown that the more time people spend on social media, the more likely they are to experience feelings of loneliness and depression. The pressure to constantly project a perfect image online, to maintain an idealized version of oneself, can contribute to a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. The lack of authentic, supportive relationships leaves individuals with few outlets for emotional expression or support, leading to a rise in mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression, and stress. The absence of meaningful connections also undermines the sense of purpose that individuals derive from their relationships with others. In a world where success is defined by personal achievement, relationships become less about shared experience and more about what individuals can extract from one another. the sense of community, which once offered individuals a sense of belonging and purpose, has been replaced by an atomized society in which people are left to navigate their lives alone. Without strong social bonds, people may find themselves questioning their place in the world, struggling to find meaning or fulfillment in a society that prioritizes individual success over collective well-being. This decline in meaningful connections is not limited to personal relationships. It extends to larger social institutions as well. As the focus on individualism and self-interest intensifies, the sense of responsibility toward others diminishes. People no longer feel a sense of duty to their fellow citizens, to their community, or to the broader society. The rise of political polarization and social fragmentation can be seen as a direct consequence of this disconnection, as individuals retreat into ideological silos, unwilling or unable to engage in meaningful dialogue or compromise. The breakdown of trust between people, groups, and institutions has led to a society in which social bonds are fragile and unreliable. In the end, the decline of meaningful connections is a symptom of a deeper societal shift, one in which the values of community, empathy, and shared responsibility have been replaced by a preoccupation with individual success and self-interest. This transformation has left individuals with fewer opportunities for authentic human connection, and as a result, they are increasingly isolated and adrift. The relationships that once provided individuals with emotional support, meaning, and purpose have become mere instruments of personal gain, leaving behind a world where true connection is hard to find. The consequences of this decline are far-reaching, as the erosion of social bonds not only affects the well-being of individuals, but also undermines the very fabric of society itself. In modern society, a pervasive sense of purposelessness has emerged, contributing to the overall emptiness felt by many individuals. In the past, people derived purpose from various sources: family, religion, community, and shared goals. These pillars of society provided individuals with a sense of direction and meaning, guiding them through the complexities of life. Today, however, the sources of purpose have become fragmented, diluted, or lost altogether. People are left to navigate a world where traditional sources of meaning have faded, and in their place, a sense of existential confusion and dissatisfaction has taken hold. One of the key factors contributing to the collapse of purpose is the decline of traditional belief systems. Religions, once central to providing individuals with a framework for understanding their existence and their role in the world, no longer hold the same sway they once did. The modern world has seen the rise of secularism, where the notion of a higher power or divine order is often dismissed or relegated to the private sphere. As religious institutions lose their influence, people are left without the moral and spiritual guidance that once offered them a clear sense of purpose. For many, the absence of religious meaning leads to a vacuum that is difficult to fill, leaving them to grapple with questions of existence, morality, and fulfillment without the support of a cohesive worldview. The decline of religion has been paralleled by the rise of consumerism and materialism, which promise fulfillment through the accumulation of wealth and possessions. In a society where success is increasingly defined by one's ability to consume and acquire, the pursuit of material goods has become the primary focus for many individuals. Yet, despite the proliferation of luxury items and technological advancements, this form of success fails to provide the deeper sense of purpose that once came from other aspects of life. People are encouraged to define themselves by what they own, but material possessions can never offer the fulfillment that comes from a sense of meaning rooted in something greater than the self. The result is a constant cycle of consumption and dissatisfaction, where the pursuit of things only leads to a deeper sense of emptiness. The modern emphasis on individualism and personal achievement has also played a role in the erosion of purpose. In a world that constantly encourages individuals to focus on their own desires and ambitions, the idea of contributing to the collective good has taken a back seat. People are often told that their purpose is to make it on their own, to rise above others through personal effort and determination. While individual success is celebrated and admired, it often comes at the expense of a sense of shared responsibility or belonging to something larger than oneself. The result is a society where people are primarily focused on their own self-interest, unable or unwilling to see beyond their own ambitions to the needs of the community or the world at large. This focus on individual achievement has led to a distortion of purpose. Instead of finding fulfillment in collective efforts or the pursuit of shared goals, individuals are encouraged to define their purpose through personal milestones, be it career success, financial wealth, or social status. This obsession with personal success has made it difficult for many to find meaning in their work, relationships, or daily life. The idea that purpose can only be found in personal accomplishment leaves little room for other forms of meaning, such as the joy of contributing to the well-being of others or the satisfaction of being part of a community with a common cause. The sense of meaninglessness is also exacerbated by the relentless pace of modern life. The pressure to constantly be on, to be productive, successful, and efficient, leaves little time for reflection or introspection. People are caught up in a never-ending cycle of work, consumption, and social interaction, with little opportunity to step back and evaluate what truly matters to them. The constant bombardment of information and distractions, fueled by technology, makes it difficult for individuals to connect with their deeper selves or their true desires. In a world that values constant motion, stillness and reflection have become rare, leaving people feeling disconnected from their own sense of purpose. In addition, the breakdown of social structures has played a significant role in the collapse of purpose. In the past, individuals found meaning through their roles within their family, workplace, or community. These roles provided a sense of direction and significance, as people knew that their actions had an impact on those around them. Today, however, many of these traditional roles have eroded, and individuals are left to create their own meaning in an increasingly fragmented society. The dissolution of close-knit communities, the rise of work environments that prioritize profit over personal fulfillment, and the decline of family structures all contribute to a sense of purposelessness. People are no longer grounded by the same connections that once anchored them to a greater cause or collective mission. Technology, while often celebrated for its ability to connect people, has also contributed to the sense of purposelessness in modern life. The constant influx of information and the addictive nature of digital media have made it harder for individuals to focus on what truly matters. Social media, for example, often encourages people to measure their worth by the number of likes, followers, or superficial accolades they receive, rather than by more meaningful measures of success. This superficiality reinforces the idea that purpose can be found in external validation rather than in intrinsic values or personal growth. The pursuit of virtual recognition, rather than authentic connection, leads many people to feel disconnected and unfulfilled. The collapse of purpose is also evident in the widespread feelings of anxiety, depression, and existential dread that have become more common in modern society. In a world where the sources of meaning are increasingly fragmented, individuals are left to grapple with feelings of uncertainty and confusion. The pressure to succeed, to constantly improve, and to find fulfillment through external achievements often leads to burnout and emotional exhaustion. People may feel overwhelmed by the sheer weight of their responsibilities, or they may feel lost in a world that offers no clear direction. The constant drive for success, coupled with the lack of deeper meaning, leaves many individuals feeling trapped in a cycle of perpetual striving without ever achieving a sense of satisfaction or fulfillment. Ultimately, the collapse of purpose is a reflection of the broader societal shifts that have occurred in recent decades. As traditional sources of meaning have eroded, and as individualism and materialism have become dominant forces in society, people are increasingly left to navigate a world devoid of deeper significance. In this context, the search for purpose becomes not just a personal struggle, but a collective one. The modern condition of purposelessness is a symptom of a world that has lost its way, where individuals are left searching for meaning in a landscape that offers few answers. This collapse of purpose is not just a result of individual choices or failures, but a consequence of a broader societal transformation that has made it more difficult for people to find and cultivate meaningful connections, roles, and goals. The modern world, despite its promises of advancement, connectivity, and progress, has left many individuals feeling adrift in an ocean of emptiness. As traditional sources of meaning, such as religion, community, and shared values, fade into the background, people find themselves facing a void that material wealth, technology, and individual success cannot fill. The relentless pursuit of progress has, ironically, led to a deeper sense of dissatisfaction, as the promise of a better tomorrow never fully materializes, leaving individuals caught in an endless cycle of striving without fulfillment. The decline of meaningful relationships, the collapse of purpose, and the loss of genuine connection have all contributed to a society that increasingly prioritizes superficial achievements over the deeper, more enduring elements of human experience. In this landscape, the human spirit finds itself disconnected from the values that once grounded it: love, loyalty, community, and shared purpose. The isolation fostered by the rise of individualism, coupled with the hollow pursuit of personal gain, has left many feeling more alone than ever. Technology, while offering unprecedented levels of communication, has often exacerbated feelings of loneliness and alienation, reducing authentic connections to fleeting digital exchanges. The rapid pace of modern life, with its emphasis on constant movement and productivity, has further pushed individuals away from introspection, self-awareness, and the pursuit of lasting meaning. Ultimately, the emptiness that defines much of modern existence is not a product of any single force, but rather a complex interplay of cultural, social, and economic shifts. The once shared values that offered a sense of purpose and belonging have been eroded, replaced by a fragmented society where individuals are left to find meaning in a world that seems to offer little of it. To find fulfillment in the modern age requires a return to these deeper values, an emphasis on human connection, a reconnection with our communities, and a shift in focus from the pursuit of external validation to the cultivation of internal meaning. Until then, many will continue to navigate a world where the promise of progress too often falls short, leaving behind a sense of emptiness that modern life has yet to adequately address.